In Scandinavia, some 7 hours of travel north of its capital city, Stockholm, Sweden, lies a very special place indeed. We travelled by air, we travelled by rail, we travelled by bus, and we travelled by car to reach our final destination. And that destination was Faviken.
So here we are, at Faviken in northern Sweden. As you can see, it's August, and yet there is still snow on the mountaintops. I believe that they've had a very, very cold summer, yesterday being the hottest day of the year, at around about 25 degrees. We are preparing to experience a very, very special dinner indeed. This is Jamie Drummond for Good Food Revolution. I'm here with Chef Magnus Nilsson at Faviken restaurant in northern Sweden. How are you this late evening, sir?
I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
I am great. I've just had the experience of tasting through one of your menus, and I have to say it's blown me away. I'm lost for words, to be quite honest. Now, I heard you ask this question earlier this evening, and you may get asked this a lot. But if you were to describe the style of cooking that
it's so difficult because I never seen it like that. You know, I just cook the way I cook, and sometimes people try to place it in sort of with a label, but I always find it difficult, and no one has yet successfully done it and labeled it in a way that actually describes what it is.
So you definitely don't want the new Scandi disco.
I don't think it really exists in that way, because to say like new Nordic cooking or new Scandinavian cooking, it sort of implies that there weren't anything before, or that what was before wasn't very good, which is not actually true.
But there is quite a grand history of cuisine, especially within Sweden.
Oh yeah, definitely. And the thing is that, you know, the first time, at least in my sort of professional life, that Scandinavian cooking got any proper attention outside of Scandinavia was with Noma, which is a wonderful restaurant in every way, and they kind of opened the door to the rest of Scandinavia. And when all that attention was turned on Noma and Scandinavia, I guess that people needed to have a label to describe what was happening. So it was labeled New Nordic Cuisine. And what's problematic with that is, as I said before already, but also that when people hear the word New Nordic Cuisine and they see a dish, they will most likely see something from Noma. And even though I love it, and it's one of my favorite restaurants in the world,
and Rennie speaks very highly of you.
Yeah, and you know, which is very flattering, because it is really, Noma is one of the best restaurants there has ever been in Europe, I would say. But the thing is also that we cook in a different way. And if you say New Nordic Cuisine and you see a dish from Noma, and you say New Nordic Cuisine, when you're talking about Faviken, you will not get that dish here. You will get something different. You will get something which is Faviken, you know. And that's sort of what's problematic for me with it.
Now you are an integral part of the front of house experience at Faviken. What for you makes Faviken so special when it comes to that service aspect?
In Faviken we try to serve the food that we would like to eat. We try to give the kind of service that me and Magnus would like to have when you go out for dinner. For us, of course, Faviken is not just about what ends up on the plates. It's about so much more. It's about the place we're doing it. It's very connected with this estate, and trying to deliver that kind of familiar feeling for people. People should feel that they are relaxed and at home, and we more or less just give the kind of service that we would like to have. You don't have to be super well educated for this. I used to say that to be a nice service person or a nice sommelier or anything, it's better to just read today's paper and read about things happening in the world than going to some schools or other educations.
Now, I was amazed to find out that you were a chef. You worked in some of the most esteemed of French restaurants, and apparently got a little bit fed up of being a chef
Yeah,
and became a sommelier of all things.
exactly.
Now, why did you become a sommelier?
Because when I moved back from France to Sweden, I started working in a restaurant in Stockholm, and I didn't like the produce. The produce was very inferior to what we had where I worked in France, and also I found that my style of cooking then was just very similar to what I did in France with Pascal and at La France.
Yes.
So it just felt like a cheap copy, like the Viking model of Pascal Barbeau, but with inferior produce. So it wasn't pleasurable, and I just stopped.
So tell me a little bit about your experiences being a sommelier.
It was very interesting. I was actually not aiming to be a sommelier. I was aiming to be a wine writer.
Really?
Yes,
Oh,
that was
this
kind
gets
of
even
the
more
idea.
interesting.
Yeah, yeah. So I went to school. I studied sommelier, and I started the WSET diploma program. I almost finished. I didn't do the last essay or something like that, so I haven't finished it. But I did most of the studies, and it was very interesting. And I was actually employed here as a sommelier from the beginning.
So you were brought up here as a consultant sommelier to
Yeah.
build the cellar.
Yeah, to build a cellar for the family who owns the estate. So I wasn't really involved in the restaurant from the beginning.
So what convinced you to get back into the kitchen?
Well, there were no choice. There was no other way to go forward, because after being here a few months, I was asked by the family who owns the estate, where the restaurant now is, if I wanted to propose something for the already existing restaurant that wasn't doing very well, in terms of quality or financially. And I did, and I thought it was going to be easy to recruit, which it wasn't. No one wanted to go here, no one wanted to move here and work. Basically, I just had to do both. So I had a communal table in the entry floor for 8, and I cooked and I served them. So there was only me working here from the beginning.
Do you still take any kind of role in the wine selection for the restaurant today?
Very little, actually.
Right.
Because Johan does it so well, and also we like the same things. Like, I have never ever seen wine here that I wouldn't like, or any wine pairing that I wouldn't like either. It's just that we like the same sweets as well, same candy too. So it's just a good sort of mark that you're going to like the same wine as well, I find.
Now, how would you describe the wine program at such a forward-thinking restaurant as Faviken? How would you describe the philosophy that lies behind the wine list here?
We serve mostly the wine pairing or the beverage pairing every night. Most guests want us to do everything from giving them the food to matching it with matching the beverage with the food. I do not think like this, that I have to search for natural wines or I have to search for wines from a special region. I just search for what's good. Then, after working with this for a while, I noticed that I have a preference for wines from France and northern Italy and Germany, but that doesn't mean all of our wines come from Europe or that all of them is produced in without sulfur or with sulfur or in what you call vin nature or whatever. It's just the wines that I like. Then, if you come here and eat, you will notice that a lot of them is produced in an extremely healthy, sustainable way. Nearly all of them work organic. Some of them would go into the group of vin nature, but it's not that reason. It's not because of that we have chosen. It's because they are the most delicious wine I could find at the moment, and they go super good with the food.
You're just about to release a cookbook.
Yes.
That must be something very exciting for you.
It is, it is.
And where do you see, after the release of that cookbook, the experience of Faviken being in 3, 4, 5 years? Do you think it will be similar to now with
Yeah.
only 12 to 16 people seated here? Or?
Yeah, like we developed this sort of matrix or this framework for how we run the restaurant with the number of seats and also how we structure our work here, and that is done. That is something that we have fixed now. It's been like this for a while, and we work within that matrix. So we're not going to change. We're not going to make the restaurant bigger or just because we can, because it doesn't necessarily mean it becomes better. Probably the other way around. And what we're going to do is not to change the restaurant as such, but to keep perfecting it and keep working to develop it in a good way.
Well, Chef Nilsson, Chef Magnus Nilsson, thank you very much for joining us at Good Food Revolution today.
Well, thank you
This
for coming
evening.
here.
Oh no, it was a long trek, but very much worth it. I believe you're coming to join us in Toronto in the spring.
I will come to Toronto in the spring.
I have it on video now, which is fantastic. So we're looking forward to hosting you there, showing you around
I'm really
Toronto
looking
and
forward to going
Ontario.
there, actually.
It's a fantastic province, a fantastic place to be, and again, thank you for this evening.
Thank you.